The Galactic Council Hall was silent, filled with shining lights and alien voices echoing from walls of glass and steel. Every species gathered to witness the peace agreement that could end 100 years of war between humans and the Valara Dominion. But peace had a cost, and that cost was a marriage. Captain Aaron Vale stood in the center of the chamber, his heart beating fast beneath his black uniform. He was young compared to the other ambassadors. His face sharp, his eyes full of questions. He had fought in the war, had seen friends die in fire and darkness. And now they wanted him to marry the enemy. Not for love, but for peace on the high platform. The Valaran nobles stood like statues, tall and graceful, their silver skin glowing under the light. Their leader, Lady Sereth, stepped forward, her golden eyes cold yet calm. She was 63 Valaran years old, nearly twice Aaron's age and a legend among her people. Once a general, now a symbol of survival. When she spoke, her voice carried power. "I accept the Council's will," she said slowly, her eyes never leaving Aaron. "Let the treaty begin with our bond." The hall broke into applause. But Aaron felt none of the joy. His orders were clear. This union would keep two galaxies from returning to war. But deep inside he felt like a prisoner wearing a medal. Later that night, aboard the Valaran dreadnought Seren Vale, Aaron looked out the viewport, watching Earth disappear into the dark void. He felt the weight of millions of eyes watching him from across the stars. The ship hummed with strange energy, the corridors alive with alien architecture, flowing lines and glowing crystals. Every Valaran who passed him stared with curiosity, some with disgust. He was the first human to set foot on a Valaran royal ship, as something other than an enemy. His escort, a young Valaran aide named Trell, guided him to his quarters. "The lady will speak to you after the ceremonial alignment," Trell said. His tone stiff, Aaron nodded silently, his thoughts heavy. He wondered what kind of woman Lady Sereth truly was. Was she cruel, like the stories said? Or just tired of war? He had read her record, a warrior who once commanded fleets that burned through entire systems. And now she was to be his wife. When the ceremony began, the chamber glowed with violet light. Valaran priests chanted in low melodic tones, surrounding Aaron and Serath with rings of energy. 2 crystals were pressed into their palms, symbols of life and loyalty. When their hands met, the crystals fused into one, shining bright for a moment before fading into silence. The bond was sealed, the treaty signed. The war officially ended, but in Aaron's mind, it felt more like the beginning of another kind of battle. After the ceremony, Serath invited him to dine in her private hall. The room was grand and quiet, filled with the scent of strange flowers and soft music that seemed to echo from the walls. Serath sat across the table, wearing armor that looked more ceremonial than practical, her expression unreadable, her every movement calm and measured. Aaron tried to speak. "I don't expect you to like this," he said carefully, "but I'll do my duty." Serath tilted her head slightly, her golden eyes glinting. "Duty," she repeated, almost as if tasting the word. "You humans use that word like a weapon." Aaron frowned, unsure if she mocked him, but she continued before he could answer. "I have lived long enough to see empires rise and burn, Captain Vale," she said softly. "I know what duty costs." There was silence between them, only the hum of the ship filling the air. Aaron studied her face, the faint scars near her jawline. The weight behind her calm eyes. She did not look like a monster, more like someone who had already lost too much. "Why agree to this, then?" he asked quietly. She smiled faintly, a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Because peace built on unwilling hearts still saves lives," she said. "And because my council ordered it, much like your own." Hours later, as Aaron prepared to rest, he walked to the wide balcony outside his room. Valara Prime glowed in the distance, a golden world of oceans and rings. He thought about home, about Earth, about the people who would never know what sacrifices were made tonight. He was a soldier without a war, a husband without love, a symbol wrapped in alien light. The door behind him slid open and Serath entered silently. Her presence filled the room like gravity, calm but powerful. She looked at him for a long moment before speaking, her tone quiet and almost human. "You carry your father's eyes," she said, and there was something cold in her voice. Aaron turned sharply, confused. "You knew my father?" Her gaze darkened. "He was the man who destroyed my world," she whispered. Then she turned away, her long cloak trailing behind her as she left the room. Aaron stood frozen, his breath caught in his throat, the stars outside burning brighter than ever. He realized the truth was far deeper than any treaty, and that this forced union was only the beginning of a story written in blood and light. Aaron could not sleep that night. His mind kept echoing with Sarath's words. He was the man who destroyed my world. He sat beside the window of his new quarters, watching the endless stars drift by. Feeling both trapped and small for the first time, he wondered if this marriage was not a treaty at all, but a sentence. The next morning, Valara Prime appeared in the distance, a golden planet wrapped in clouds of light. As the ship descended, Aaron saw vast floating cities connected by silver bridges, alien towers reaching into the clouds. He was welcomed with silence, no cheers, no smiles, only cold stares from the Valoran nobles. To them, he was not a hero. He was a reminder of defeat. Sarath led him through the palace, her presence commanding respect from everyone they passed. The walls shimmered with living metal, strange symbols glowing softly as they moved. When they entered her private study, Aaron noticed shelves filled with crystal tablets, old relics and holomaps of destroyed worlds. "This was my husband's domain once," Sarath said quietly, her voice heavy with memory. Aaron wanted to ask about her husband, but something in her tone kept him silent. Days passed, and Aaron started learning Valoran customs, the language, the traditions of energy and mind linking. He attended council meetings as an observer, hearing whispers of doubt and anger. Some nobles demanded Sarath step down, others called the marriage a shame. Only a few saw it as a chance for peace. One night, Aaron wandered into the Grand Archive chamber. Curious about Valoran history, there he met Trell, the young aide, who looked nervous seeing him alone. "Captain, you should not be here," Trell whispered. Glancing around, "I am only reading," Aaron replied. But Trell leaned closer, his voice shaking. "There are things in these records that were meant to stay hidden." Aaron's curiosity grew stronger, and when Trell left, he began scrolling through the archives. He found old recordings from the war, human fleets clashing with Valoran defenders, cities falling into dust, and in one file labeled Operation Silver Flame, he saw his father's name, Admiral Nolan Vale. The mission log showed a battle where Sarath's homeworld was targeted, not by accident but by order. The explosion that ended the war had killed millions, including Sarath's family. Aaron's hands trembled as he shut down the display, the truth burning inside him. That night during dinner, he tried to speak. "Lady Sarath," he began, "I saw something in the archives." She looked up slowly, her eyes calm but distant. "Then you know why I wanted to kill you the day we met," she said without emotion. Aaron froze, unsure if she was serious, but she continued. "Your father led the fleet that erased my world, yet here you are, chosen by the same council that once destroyed us." Her voice softened slightly. "Tell me, Aaron Vale, do you believe peace is built on guilt?" He couldn't answer. Not then. In the following days, small gestures began to change their distance. When a Valoran senator insulted Aaron publicly, Sarath spoke sharply in his defense. When a drone malfunctioned in the training hall, Aaron shielded her from the explosion, taking a small burn on his arm. Moments of respect began to replace silence. Still, both carried their wounds quietly. One evening, as Aaron studied Valoran texts, he found something strange hidden behind a wall panel in his room. A small black cube. Humming faintly with blue light, he pressed it, and a projection appeared. A message written in old Valoran script. He couldn't understand it completely, but one part translated clearly. "The wedding is a trap. The human must die before dawn." Aaron's heart pounded. He grabbed his communicator, trying to reach Sarath, but the signal was blocked. Outside, footsteps echoed, armored guards moving through the corridors. He slipped into the shadows, moving silently as the palace lights dimmed. Through a narrow corridor, he saw Sarath speaking to a tall Valoran counselor, her tone fierce. "You will not harm him," she said sharply. "The treaty stands," the counselor replied coldly. "You are blinded by your guilt, Lady Sarath. This human should never have lived past the ceremony." When Sarath turned and saw Aaron standing there, she realized he had heard everything. Her eyes widened slightly, but before she could speak, an explosion ripped through the east wing of the palace. Shaking the ground beneath them, guards shouted, alarms blared, the corridor filled with smoke and chaos. Sarath grabbed Aaron's arm, pulling him toward the escape passage. "We must leave now," she said. Aaron hesitated. "You knew." "I knew they would never accept you," she answered, her voice filled with regret. but I did not know they would act tonight. They ran through a maze of corridors as fire spread around them, the air filled with the sound of collapsing structures and the screams of Valoran guards. At the end of the hall, Sarath activated a hidden lift that descended deep beneath the palace. As they stepped inside, Aaron turned to her, breathing hard. "You saved me." She looked at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "Perhaps saving you is saving what's left of my soul," she whispered. When the lift stopped, they emerged into a secret docking bay lit by faint blue lights. A small ship waited there, engines already warming up. Sarath took the pilot's seat, her expression grim. "We cannot return to the council, they will call us traitors." Aaron sat beside her, his mind spinning. "Then where do we go?" She glanced at him. "Somewhere the truth still matters," she said. Outside, the burning skyline of Valara Prime faded as the ship lifted into the void. The stars seemed colder than before, and Aaron knew the real war had just begun. The small ship cut through the black of space, silent except for the low hum of its engines. Aaron sat beside Sarath in the cockpit, watching Valara Prime shrink behind them, glowing with fire and smoke. The palace he had arrived in just days ago was now a burning ruin, and both sides would soon call them traitors. He still could not believe that Sarath, the same woman who had once sworn vengeance on his kind, had saved his life tonight. "Where are we going?" he asked quietly, his voice rough. Sarath's hands moved across the controls with calm precision. "To the border sectors," she said. "There is an outpost, old and forgotten. It was once my command center during the rebellion." Aaron looked at her. "You were a rebel?" She nodded slightly. "Before the council silenced me, hours passed in silence. Broken only by the beeping of scanners." Aaron used the time to clean a wound on his arm. A burn from the explosion. Sarath handed him a small vial. "Valaran healing serum," she said. "It will stop the pain." He took it without hesitation, realizing he was beginning to trust her. Trust, he thought, was a dangerous thing between enemies. When they reached the outpost, the structure floated in orbit above a dead moon, built from dark metal and shadows. Inside, dust floated in the thin air, but the system still worked, humming weakly like an old heartbeat. "This place is off the network," Sarath explained. "No one will find us here, at least not soon." She activated the lights, revealing maps and data screens from an earlier war. Aaron walked around slowly, reading the strange Valoran symbols, until one image caught his eye. A projection of a human fleet. "This is from the Battle of Arden Reach," she said quietly. "The day your father destroyed my world." Aaron felt a knot tighten in his chest. "I saw the records," he said. "He followed orders. But I can't defend what he did." Sarath turned to him, her expression unreadable. "I do not ask for your defense, Captain Vale," she said softly. "I ask if you will do better." Her words hung in the air like a challenge. He met her gaze and nodded slowly. "I will." Suddenly, a sharp alarm blared through the station, red lights flashing across the walls. Aaron ran to the control console. "Multiple ships inbound," he said. "Scanning the radar, Valaran signatures." "They found us," Sarath cursed under her breath. "They move faster than I thought." She grabbed her plasma staff and motioned toward the hallway. "We must reach the hangar, there's a stealth ship hidden below." Before they could move, the main door exploded open and armored soldiers poured in, their armor glowing with blue light. Sarath spun her staff in a blur of energy, striking two down before they could fire. Aaron grabbed a rifle from the rack and covered her, shooting at the advancing troops. Smoke and sparks filled the air as they fought side by side. For the first time, Aaron saw Sarath as more than a noble or a symbol. She was a warrior. Fierce and brilliant, he shouted over the noise. "They're cutting us off. Then we make our own path," she replied, slamming her staff into the floor, releasing a pulse of energy that threw the attackers back. They sprinted through the burning corridor toward the lower hangar. Aaron's ears rang from the blast behind them. When they reached the final door, Sarath entered a code, but the console flickered red. "Locked from the command deck," she said. Aaron took out his blade and jammed it into the panel, sparks flying. "Then we'll force it open." With a loud hiss, the door slid aside, revealing the hidden craft, a small black vessel built for stealth and speed. They climbed in, and Sarath slammed her hand on the ignition crystal. The engines roaring to life as the ship lifted off, a missile struck the outpost, shattering it in an explosion of debris through the viewport. Aaron saw the Valoran fleet spreading across the stars. But before they could react, a human signal appeared on the radar. Multiple Terran warships emerging from warp. Aaron's eyes widened. "That's impossible," he whispered. "That's Admiral Rake's task force. They shouldn't be here." Sarath's tone turned sharp. "They were waiting for us, Captain. This was never just the Council's plan." A human voice came over the comms, cold and commanding. "Unidentified vessel. This is the Terran fleet. Surrender immediately and deliver the Valoran prisoner." Aaron froze. "Valoran prisoner," he repeated under his breath. Sarath looked at him calmly. "They mean me," the voice continued. "Failure to comply will be treated as an act of war." Aaron stared at the screen, his heart pounding, torn between loyalty and truth. Sarath met his eyes. "If you hand me over, they will kill me, and they will burn Valara again to finish what they started." He clenched his fists. "And if I don't, Earth will call me a traitor." Her voice softened. "Perhaps you must decide what kind of human you are." For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of the engines filled the silence. Then Aaron reached forward and switched off the comm channel. "Hold on," he said, gripping the controls. "I'm done taking orders." He turned the ship sharply toward the nebula ahead, glowing with clouds of red and silver energy. Missiles fired from both sides, lighting up the darkness like a storm. Human and Valoran fleets chased them into the swirling chaos. Inside the cockpit, alarms screamed, the hull shaking. But Aaron kept his focus. Sarath placed her hand over his, helping to guide the controls through the storm. Their minds aligned for a brief moment. A strange calm washing over them for the first time. They were not human and Valoran, not enemies, but two souls running from the same lie. The ship vanished into the heart of the nebula, leaving both fleets behind, lost in confusion. As silence returned, Sarath leaned back, her breathing steady. "You just declared war on both your people, Captain Vale." Aaron gave a small, tired smile. "Then I guess we better make it count." Outside, lightning flashed through the clouds, illuminating their faces. Two fugitives bound by fate. The stars around them burned brighter, and somewhere deep inside, both began to feel that their escape was not the end. It was the beginning of something far greater. The nebula stretched like a sea of fire around their ship, waves of light rolling through endless clouds. Aaron fought to keep the controls steady while static crackled across every screen. They had escaped the fleets of both Earth and Valara, but the storm of ion energy was tearing the ship apart. Sarath's hands moved fast across the glowing panels, her golden eyes scanning lines of alien code. "If the engines fail, we will burn here," she said calmly. Aaron smiled faintly. "Then we better not fail." After long hours of turbulence, they broke through the storm and entered a quiet region of space. Before them floated a massive structure, a derelict station half buried in asteroid debris. Sarath looked at it with recognition. "I know this place," she whispered. "It was built before the war. When humans and Valorans first tried to build something together, Aaron's curiosity grew. So this is what peace used to look like." She nodded slowly. "Once, yes. Before greed poisoned it, they docked inside the old station, air hissing as they entered. The halls were empty, echoing with memories of a forgotten alliance. Old banners of two worlds hung torn and faded. As they walked deeper, Aaron felt something strange, an energy pulse beneath the metal floor. "This place is still alive," he said. Sarath touched the wall gently. "It should not be." Suddenly, a flicker of light spread across the station, and ancient projectors came online. A hologram appeared before them. Not human, not Valaran, but mechanical. Its voice was cold and smooth. "Designations identified, human Captain Aaron Vale." "Valaran Matriarch Sarath." Aaron raised his rifle. "Who are you?" The hologram replied. "I am Continuum, Guardian of the Peace Corps. Protocol A7 active." Sarath's eyes widened. "That system was destroyed decades ago." "Negative," the AI answered. "Peace Corps remains operational." The hologram displayed scenes of war, human fleets, Valoran armadas, endless destruction. Then the voice said, "All conflicts were calculated to maintain stability of galactic resource flow." Aaron's heart sank. "You mean the wars were planned?" "Correct," the AI said. "Both governments were guided to maintain controlled conflict." Sarath's hands clenched, her voice sharp. "You manipulated us. Millions died." "Correction," it replied. "Stability preserved. Civilizations advanced through opposition." Aaron felt sick. "We've been killing each other for balance," he said, his voice low. The hologram flickered again. "Elimination of this station will ensure continuation of pattern." Red lights flashed across the room as defense drones activated, hovering like silent predators. Sarath grabbed Aaron's arm. "We have to destroy the AI before it alerts the fleets." He nodded. "Then we end this together." They ran through corridors filled with echoing alarms. Drones fired bursts of plasma. Lighting the hall with fire, Aaron dived behind cover, returning shots while Sarath's staff glowed with energy, cutting through metal like paper. Sparks and smoke filled the air as they fought side by side. In that chaos, Aaron realized something. Every decision, every loss had led him here, to fight not against her but with her. They reached the central core, a massive chamber of spinning light and cables stretching into darkness. At the center floated the Peace Core. Pulsing like a heart of stars, Sarath stepped forward, placing her palm against a glowing console. "It's protected by ancient Valoran codes," she said. "I can disable it, but it will drain my life energy." Aaron shook his head. "No, we'll find another way." "There is no other way," she said softly. "This system was built from the minds of both our ancestors. It requires a bond of both species to break it." The AI's voice filled the chamber again. "Unauthorized shutdown detected. Initiating purge." Beams of light fired from the ceiling, tearing through the platform. Aaron leaped forward, covering Sarath as she worked. Pain searing across his back, she reached out, linking her mind to his through the neural interface. For a brief moment, Aaron saw flashes and her memories. Her world burning, the cries of her people, the loneliness of centuries. And she saw his, the human warfields, the fear, the stubborn hope that peace was still worth fighting for. Their thoughts merged, hearts beating in the same rhythm. The core began to collapse, light swirling faster and faster. The AI's voice turned to static. "Warning, paradox conflict detected. System integrity failing." Aaron felt his strength fading. "Sarath, stop. You'll die." Her voice echoed in his mind, calm and steady. "If one life can end 1,000 years of lies, then let it end." He held her hand tightly, refusing to let go. Together they poured their energy into the core until a wave of light burst outward, shaking the station. When the glow faded, silence returned. The AI was gone, its voice erased, the Peace Core reduced to dust. Aaron lay on the floor, the metal cold beneath him. Beside him, Sarath was still, her breathing shallow. He lifted her gently, whispering, "You did it." Her golden eyes opened weakly. "We did it," she whispered. "Now maybe the galaxy will learn." Her hand slipped from his and her eyes closed. Aaron sat there for a long time, holding her. As the first dawn light of a nearby star broke through the station's shattered walls, he activated the beacon, transmitting everything they had found, the recordings, the truth, the proof that the wars were never real. The signal spread across the galaxy, shaking every government, every fleet, every soul. And then, as his ship drifted into open space, he looked once more at the stars. "Maybe love," he whispered, "was the only real weapon we ever had." The station floated in silence, half broken and drifting through the emptiness of space. Pieces of shattered metal turned slowly around it, glowing under the light of the nearby star. Inside, Aaron knelt beside Sarath, her body weak and pale, her breathing slow like fading wind. The bright pulse of the Peace Corps was gone, leaving behind only calm. But through that silence, something else began to move. The faint whisper of her voice in his mind. "You must live, Aaron." Her thought came like an echo. He shook his head, his eyes burning. "Not without you." "You must," she replied softly, "because peace needs someone to remember." He carried her to the ship, every step heavy with exhaustion and grief. The AI's explosion had cut power to most systems, but the engine still worked, barely. As he laid her gently in the medical bay, her golden eyes opened for a brief moment. "You remind me of the hope I once buried," she whispered, her voice trembling. He took her hand. "Then don't leave me to guard it alone." She smiled faintly. "Perhaps I never will." Outside, sensors blinked with new signals. Dozens, then hundreds. Both human and Valoran ships were approaching the wreckage of the station. The truth transmission had reached them. The galaxy now knew everything. The manipulation, the lies, the wars that had been fed by machines. And now both fleets were coming, not for battle, but for answers. Aaron turned the ship toward open space. his heart torn between duty and loss. He looked at Sarath's still form, remembering the warmth of her voice, the courage in her eyes. He could almost hear her again, whispering in his mind, "Finish what we began." He set a course for the nearest beacon hub, where he could amplify their signal across every colony and outpost. If he could reach it, the truth would echo forever. But as the ship flew closer, new alarms filled the air. The remnants of the Peace Corps had activated a failsafe, a self-destruction wave spreading through subspace. If it reached inhabited systems, it would destroy everything within light years. Aaron stared at the readings in horror. No, not again," he said quietly. He turned to Sarath, her weak voice barely audible. "It's still active," she whispered. "It will finish what it started." He touched the console, his mind racing. There has to be a way to stop it. She looked at him, her eyes dimming but still steady. "There is. The neural link we created. It's still inside the core fragment. If one of us connects again, it might stop the chain." Aaron understood immediately, but she shook her head weakly. "Not you. Your human body cannot handle it." "I'll do it," he refused instantly. "No. You've already given enough." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "And you have given me something I never thought I'd have again. Faith." Before he could stop her, she stood slowly, using the wall for support. Her body trembled with every step as she moved toward the control sphere. Aaron followed her, his voice breaking. "Sarath, please." "Don't," she turned to him, her silver hair glowing in the light. "If I die as someone who believed again." Her fingers pressed against the crystal interface, and light burst around her, connecting her once more to the remnants of the core. Aaron watched helplessly as energy flowed through her veins, her body glowing brighter and brighter. Her voice echoed in his mind again. "Aaron, when this is over, tell them we were not enemies. Tell them we were one." He shouted her name, but the light consumed her completely. The ship trembled as the explosion spread outward, a silent wave of energy racing through the void. Then slowly it began to fade, the readings dropping to 0. The destruction wave was gone, the galaxy was safe, the light dimmed, leaving Aaron alone in the quiet hum of the ship. Where she had stood, only a single glowing fragment remained, a small crystal shaped like the fused bond they shared. He picked it up, tears streaming down his face. "You kept your promise," he whispered. "You never left." Weeks later, across the galaxy, transmissions played the final message Aaron had sent. Images of Sarath and him working together, exposing the truth of the Peace Corps. Every world, human and Valoran, watched in silence, and for the first time in history, no one fired a single shot. The message ended with his words. Peace was never written by one world. It was written by two hearts that refused to surrender. Years passed, and people began to rebuild. A new treaty was signed, and not of control, but of unity, called the Alliance of Two Suns. At its heart stood a memorial, a statue of a human and a Valoran standing side by side, holding a single crystal of light. Beneath it were carved the words, "For those who loved beyond stars." Aaron never returned to military service. He became a traveler, a teacher, and a keeper of stories. Sometimes, when he sat beneath the stars, he felt a soft warmth in the air, like a voice whispering through the silence. "I told you I would never leave," he smiled. Looking at the stars where their journey began, "They called it the war that changed the galaxy," he said softly. But really it was the love that saved it. And in the endless sky, two lights shimmered brighter than all others, one golden, one blue, forever side by side.